All right, now let's get to the fun stuff.
Hello.
Our king, our goat, Donalde, he went on the Ingraham angle in front of a live audience and spoke truth to power.
Welcome, sir. It's always good to see you. It's been a while, been a couple of years since we've done a big event with you like this. And just in time for your appearance today, there's a new Suffolk poll out just now a few days before the big primary. And among those very likely to vote, you're up over Nikki Haley by close to a 2-to-1 margin, 63 to 35.
Wow. I'm just now finding out about this.
Today, she refused to step aside and said this.
Many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. Some people used to say I was running because I really wanted to be vice president. I think I've pretty well settled that question.
Has she settled that question?
Well, I settled it about 3 months ago. She's not working. She's here. She's down by 30, 35 points. And everybody knows her. You're not supposed to lose your home state. Shouldn't happen anyway. And she's losing it big. I mean, really, I said bigly and bigly too. She's losing it bigly, but we're gonna really do a job, I think.
That's one of the hits. He's playing to the crowd, dude. He's playing the hits. My boy, dude. My boy.
As you know, when we went to Iowa, we got the biggest margin in the history of the caucus, the biggest. That's a long time.
Why do you think she's staying in the race?
I don't think she knows how to get out, actually. I really don't. She did terribly in New Hampshire. She got the only vote she got was from Democrats.
But she has a lot of money behind her. What do they think they're getting?
Well, they're trying to hurt me because of the general election. So the Democrats are giving her money, and she's playing into the game. And I think she just can't get herself to get out. She's doing poorly in the polls. Look, if she was doing well, I'd understand it. But she's doing very poorly. She lost in record numbers in Iowa, record numbers in New Hampshire. Nevada, no name beat. No name. We had no name.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News.
She's right.
She and Biden have like almost, in a way, some would say team up together. They're Biden's people to say, look, if you're going to complain about age, Trump's demeanor, Trump makes mistakes, forgets names. She's trying to equate Biden's decline, which is fairly obvious, with you for being, 77.
Well, he's declined, and there's no question about it, but he was always sort of semi-declined. If you go back 25 years, no, but he was not one of the smarter people. He's tried to be president many times, 4 times at least that they know of, and all of a sudden, when he's most diminished, this is when he hit, and he did it.
Okay, there is a little bit of irony here because Trump did that too. Like, Donald Trump also notoriously ran for president, not as many times, I don't think, as Biden did. And he also failed until he did win the presidency at his most diminished. So he's not wrong about Biden, but says you, God, it's so funny. It's just like American politics is so bad. It's so bad. What is happening? What is happening in the world of U.S. politics where we have the worst possible people, man? We have the absolute worst possible people running for the highest office. The election feels like a mimetic reference of a presidential election. Yeah, this is the most chat GPT presidential election. Filler arc, to be honest. We need to be put on a one pace.
But if you look at me, I feel, and I really mean this, and I would tell you, and I think you tell me too, because we've known each other a long time. If I felt diminished, okay, let's use a nice term. If I felt diminished or declined any way, I think I'd know it. And I think I'd say, I'm not running. Somebody should talk to him. But if he runs, he runs. He doesn't seem to be, I heard you say that he's very persistent, and he probably is. I think most
stubborn.
people, I think that most people that run would be stubborn or persistent and, just not want to give up the ghost. But, we have a nation to run. We have a nation that has to survive. We have nuclear weapons and the likes of which, and you don't even want to know about it, the most powerful weapons in the history of the world, so powerful that you don't even want to talk about them. And we have him negotiating for us. And in his best years, he couldn't have negotiated well. Now he has no clue what's happening. And I know Putin very well, and I know President Xi of China. I know them all. Kim Jong-un, I know very well. I did a great job with him.
Do you think they'd prefer him to remain as president because they believe that they can dominate the global, the global situation much easier with him in office?
Well, they want him very badly to be president. I mean, I'm sure a lot of money is being spent on between Russia and China, no question with China, Russia too. Look, Ukraine would have.
It is pretty crazy that Vladimir Putin, like last week, said that he much prefers Biden as an elderly statesman to Donald Trump. That he said that he could reasonably negotiate. I mean, it's a funny ass troll technically, but you think that's mind games or not? No, I don't think he's. Yeah, no, I don't think he's being serious. Listen, I don't trust anything that Vladimir Putin says. Okay, that's not me saying this specifically because I'm quote unquote worried about my about how much the pro-Ukrainian audience hates me or something. They already do hate me. Okay, he just anytime he's saying a statement that is going to be perceived by the West. It's the exact opposite of what you think when you're looking at like a country like Israel. The Israeli organs of propaganda don't even tailor their messaging to the Western audience when they're directly communicating with the Western audience anymore because they know that they have a comfortable barrier of protection no matter what happens. So they just blurt it out. They're like, yeah, f you, f off. No two-state solution. What are you going to do about it? Keep sending us child murder bombs, please. When Russia or Vladimir Putin says something that's like Western facing, it's the exact opposite. It can be a left hook. It could be a secret gut punch. It could be anything. It could be completely honest, or it could be absolutely a way to troll. Let's move on from this and let's get back to my goat, Donald Trump.
Have never happened. I know Putin so well, and it was the apple of his eye. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I said, don't ever do it. It would have never happened, by the way.
We're going to get into that in a minute, but back to Biden and his current state, whatever you want to call it. Will you challenge him to regular debates, regardless of the concern about the moderators?
Rojo Tortuga, thank you for the 20 gifted subs, my friend. Red Turtle.
I know that's always annoying, but I'll be happy to moderate one, by the way. Would you challenge him? Come on, Joe, you can do it. Will you challenge him to a debate regularly on focused specific topics? In other words, so it's not a wide-ranging, just one debate on foreign policy.
Well, I'll do it right now on your show. I'll challenge him right now, and we can do you can do anybody you want. I'll take anybody from CNN, which is doing very poorly in the ratings, by the way, as you probably know. I'll take anybody because I think you have an obligation in this case. You really have an obligation to debate. When it came to the Republicans, I was up by 40, 50, 60.
By the way, what a wonderful way to segue back into how silly debates are in general. This is a perfect example. Do you think that you will arrive at the truth in a debate between Donald Trump and Joe Robin Biden? No, of course not. But will it be content? Of course. That's it.
60 points, like being up on her. I think a poll just came out. I'm at 91 and she's at 7. And would you debate? You want to be smart. You don't have to waste your time doing certain
But that would be
debates.
Instructive to see you versus Biden on any given topic.
Regardless of poll numbers. I'm way up on him now in the polls. And frankly, I think we have an obligation. When you have the final Republican, the final Democrat, you have the two people you have to debate regardless of polls.
How many debates would you commit to?
As many as necessary. I would like to do it starting now. I don't think he's going to debate, though. I really don't think so. I mean, we had a debate where at the end of the debate, he admitted I was right about almost everything, but in particular on energy. Do you remember I said, I feel like Perry Mason, the way you just collapsed. And he admitted.
And what happened? You lost the fucking election, dog.
Everything about energy, and that's what actually happened, and that's why your energy costs went up 3 and 4 times. I mean, we had $1.87, and he was up to $5, $6, $7, and that's going to happen immediately after the election. Let's not even talk about if he wins. We can't allow it to win. We're not going to have a country left. But that's going to be, you will have energy costs, and this whole concept of all electric, everybody having an electric vehicle, they don't go far. People don't want that. They want everything. They may want electric, but they also want other choices.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Chapo's Will had the perfect take on debates. My politics are based on morality. There's no magic combination of words that are going to get me to agree Palestinian children deserve to be slaughtered. Yeah, but that's why debates work for a very specific type of audience, and that's why I personally engage in it when I see fit, okay? Because there are a lot of people who are relatively out of touch and care simply about the blood sport, okay? In many instances, those people are very reactionary because the further you are away from empathizing with the victims of any kind of structural violence, whether it be, genocidal actions of Israel, or whether it be, I don't know, police brutality in America, if you have no capacity to understand, what those conditions look like, okay, then you are going to be susceptible to someone who comes across like a monster, like a titan in a debate, because you don't have morality is not factored into your equation at all, or empathy is not factored into your equation at all. At that point, you're simply looking for someone to hand you talking points so you can seem smarter. And there is definitely utility in that, which is why I always say 40% of the audience is completely 40% of each side in a debate is firm in their position. They're not going to change, right? But the 20% in between, 10% from one side, 10% from the other side, they can actually have their opinion shift a little bit. That still doesn't change the pseudo-intellectual wrestling component of debates, ultimately, but you can pick someone's audience a little bit. You can pick into their audience a little bit, and then slowly but surely help them develop their own moral framework through consistency, right? That's it. I saw you're with Piers Morgan. I don't want to go and exaggerate what is your worth. You're great. However, I would appreciate that you give stats, facts, and truths whenever you want to call it, and let your audience decide. Much love, though. Well, you're in for a whirlwind of emotion then, because I do that all the time. You can see a lot of the facts that I use on my YouTube videos if you would like to dive in a little bit further. What is this? People do respond to strong rhetoric, Hasan. I agree. You're hot. It helps if you haven't had your views challenged, though. You're hot and I like your politics, so I'll overlook this L take. This is not an L take. This is a W take. Debates are only an entry point into seeing someone else's perspective. Okay? That's it. It's simply an entry point. If that is your beginning and end, if that is all you look for, then you will never be able to develop a solid moral framework. You'll simply keep repeating the talking points of a person who is claiming that they have developed that. Here. People in Destiny's community know your position. If you keep getting stuck on it so much, it shows that you seem triggered, therefore losing in the marketplace of ideas, which, by the way, is also indicative that, like, most people's understanding of debates are fucking idiotic. Further evidence that debates are not good for arriving at the truth and just simply about overwhelming your opponent rhetorically. There you go. Debates are good at opening up the door to intellectual curiosity, but many people don't peek in. That's my point. I hope that explains things a little bit better for you. It's not even debates. It's something called heuristic in philosophy and rhetoric. Heuristic refers to an argument that aims to successfully dispute another's argument rather than searching for the truth. Anyway, you should have a stream where you don't talk at all and just play your old clips. I mean, it's basically every stream. All right. Donald Trump. Migrant crime will be worse than any other form of crime.
Questions we've been hearing from voters here is, how do you plan to deport the millions of people? I mean, there's probably 12, 13 million people under Biden alone that have come here. And how will it work?
It's going to work that we get the bad ones out first. They're coming in from prisons. They're coming in from jails and mental institutions.
How will you find them?
We're going to find them through local police. Look, the local police, they're so phenomenal. I love them. They love me. I think I have 97% support. They know everything. They know the first names. They know everything. And it's a new category. I don't know if you've heard this, but I came up with this one: migrant crime. There's crime, there's violent crime, there's migrant crime. We have a new category of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's going to be worse than any other form of crime. You look at New York City, what's going on where they attack police. They want to fight police officers. Our criminals don't even do that so much.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different kind of crime, I promise. Love that they're still running with that false narrative, by the way. God. The cops were literally straight up fucking beating on the dudes for no reason. We now know that. And yet, it doesn't matter because the Fox News audience never saw that. They never saw the full video. They never saw the body camera footage. And it works perfectly along with the biases that they already had towards like immigrants. So they're just going to go along with that false narrative over and over and over again. Now, obviously, what you're supposed to do in that situation is recognize that crime is a byproduct of social conditions regardless, and that, of course, there are going to be undocumented immigrants that do crime, even violent ones, just like documented citizens, just like natural-born U.S. citizens, right? It's going to happen. So what you have to look at is not whether it is an undocumented immigrant that has done a crime or not, but the tendency for undocumented immigrants to cause violent crime. That's where empirical evidence comes into play. And unfortunately for Trump and all of the other right-wing shitheads that regularly talk about immigration being a source of major crime, the empirical evidence shows the exact opposite. That undocumented immigrants, time and time again, have been consistently shown to cause less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. And there are obvious reasons for that, such as even if you have a broken tail light and you're an undocumented immigrant, you're fucked. You could potentially get deported. So if you're an undocumented immigrant, and there's like 12 million plus undocumented immigrants in this country currently that have been here for a very long time, some of which have been here for decades at this point, that go about their daily life trying to avoid any interaction whatsoever with the police. See what I did there? I showed you empirical evidence, and then I paired that up with my perspective on the matter. A little bit of critical thinking plus empirical evidence will help you arrive at the truth in a much better way. You are susceptible to your biases when you look at anecdotes. Anecdotes are very good at propagandizing a position, but anecdotes are exactly how you arrive at the wrong position if you operate off of them.
Okay? I've never seen them having fistfights with the police officers in the middle of the street. And we have to do something about it. These are tough people. Don't forget, they're not sending their finest. I know all the leaders of the South American...
Well, they really hit you when you said that in 2015. You said
they're sending their finest.
And now, all these years later...
I hate that. I hate that take. Such a gross, lame take. Real shame that the Democratic Party basically agrees with that now.
During a segment of this town hall focused on NATO, which ultimately didn't make it to air following the recording, Trump reaffirmed his stance that he wouldn't guarantee protection to member nations failing to meet their financial obligations, echoing his persistent critique that certain foreign partners inadequately contribute to their defense budgets compared to the United States. When Ingraham asked, "Does this mean you are not going to defend NATO countries if they haven't paid their 2.whatever%? Then Trump replied, "Well, yeah, sort of it does." Trump also reiterated his assertion that he played a pivotal role in compelling NATO allies to increase their defense spending, aiming to meet the 2014 target of allocating 2% of each country's gross domestic product to defense.
Everything turned out to be right.
Well, CBC is telling us that...
Unfortunately.
Customs and Border Patrol announced yesterday that just in 3 days, 452 Chinese nationals have been apprehended by Border Patrol. And, Mr. President, 20,000 Chinese have entered since October.
Yep.
Okay. Does this concern you more than other immigrant groups?
Probably it would, because it's China, and maybe what are they building an army in between? It was 29,000 people in the last year. Think of it, 29,000 people, and most of those people were young, male, fighting age, okay? So
what's going on?
Look, you want to give the benefit of the doubt, but China was #1. And you look at Yemen, now they're coming in with bombing. Here we go again with this guy bombing everything, gets no respect. He bombs and bombs, they're bombing Yemen.
Well, they're bombing
and we have a lot of Yemenis are coming into our country. We have people coming in from everywhere. They're coming in from the Congo. They interviewed some people last night. Where are you from? Congo. Where did you live? Prison. They're emptying out their prisons into
What's
our
the first thing you will do if you become president again on the border? I know that's going to be your first
There's
act.
2 things I'm going to do. #1 is drill, baby, drill. And the other thing, equal, is we're going to, look, I had the safest border in the history of our country, recorded history, because I can't tell you about 1,000 years ago, but recorded history of the border by far. We had it down pat between guys like Tom.
1,000 years ago? What does he mean by this? In the year 1024? What was the border protocols for the non-existent nation of the United States of America by the indigenous tribes that occupied the land? What are we doing here? He's like, folks, you don't understand. This guy, Leif Erikson, right? Everybody always says Amerigo Vespucci. They say Marco, I say Polo. But everyone really knows it's that Leif Erikson, Viking, comes in to the American shores, washes over. I say to them, what did the natives do, folks? They gave him blankets. They gave him an opportunity to smoke the peace pipe. The natives were terrible on border control. They should have immediately handed his ass back, sent his ass back on a dinghy. I'm too old for Twitch. Thank you for the 10 give the subs.
Tom Holman and Brandon Judd and unbelievable people that you have on your show. We had a great, all Biden had to do is stay at the beach. You know, he goes to the beach. Somebody said he looks great in a bathing suit. So he goes to the beach. If he went to the beach and didn't do it, but he canceled everything, remain in Mexico, catch and release. We have catch and release, but we had release in Mexico.
Why were you against the House, against the Senate border deal, the bipartisan border?
Well, they allow 5,000 people a week, but a lot of people took it as 5,000 people a day. They said 5,000 people a week, and you read it, and it says 5,000 people a day. #1, that, but it also made it much better for the opposing side.
Regularize, manage the crisis.
You couldn't manage it. It was so complex. You're talking about, first of all, if you want to close the border.
It's good that we tried to concede on the border stuff with the party that loves this guy and is like voting for him no matter what. Surely his fans have a real perspective, you know, guided by evidence on the issue of immigration. Surely they're not just like a bunch of racist monsters who are interested in voting for this guy purely on the motivated reasoning that comes from being a white supremacist and the anger and resentment that they feel towards like whatever he has decided is the bi-coastal liberal elites that have fucked up their lives. Surely it would be a good idea to say that guy, you know, he made some good points, so we should be the party that passes the border control bill. Because like the underlying premise that he suggested that we in the Democratic Party shit on, justifiably, as racist for years and years was actually correct. Turns out. We believe it now. Yeah, immigrants aren't, you know, these nations aren't sending their best, actually. We have to do something. Immigration is a matter of national security, as a matter of fact. We've decided as the Democratic Party that that's how it works. That's great. That's great, man.
Your president. I didn't have any legislation. I had people opposed to me very strongly, including Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi. That was a little triumvirate. And what I did after a year, I said, you know what, these people, I took the money out. We built 571 miles of border wall, and that's what made our border so good. We did another thing. I got 28,000 soldiers.
Interesting, once again, to think about the reality that those same Democrats have, one, used eminent domain to continue the expansion of the border wall that they called racist, and also packaged a funding mechanism for the continuation of the border wall in the legislation that they were pushing for this last time around. So, again, really smart stuff, really good politics, really good job, Democrats. Hell yeah.
Soldiers from Mexico. I sent to the president of Mexico who I really like a lot. I think he's a terrific guy. He's a socialist, but a terrific guy, and he's fantastic, actually, in a lot of ways. I said, we need 28,000 soldiers to guard our border. He said, you got to be kidding.
Well, Biden
I
says
ended up getting, free of charge, 28,000. We had the safest border we've ever had. Now, we have the most unsafe, we have the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border of any country anywhere in the world that's been like
Biden has announced, well, they've hinted that he's going to come out with a border executive order on the border to clamp down.
That could be seen as being bipartisan and acknowledging what some people do want. Yeah, dude, that's great. I love that. Except it's false. It is built around a false narrative. So who gives a fuck if you want to come across as bipartisan surrounding a false narrative? What do you mean? Yeah. Leadership requires moral courage. Okay? That's why you look back in history at figures like Abraham Lincoln and many others who did the right thing at a time when they could have said, well, for the sake of bipartisanship, I'm going to decide that maybe slavery isn't that bad. After all, that is precisely what many people are on board with, right?
On illegal immigration before the State of the Union message. I thought he said he didn't have the executive authority.
So I do believe that he's baked in. I don't think he can ever even come close unless people are really stupid, which they're not. The public is much smarter than the politicians. He's not going to be able to change. He's not going to be able to change it.
Anyway.
Robert Hur, the special prosecutor.
Why do you have a problem with Biden doing the right thing at the border? It's clearly a crisis here. The real crisis is thinking that this is a good enough debate at the top of the hour to get me to read your comments so you can turn around and say, at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. There is a crisis. See? Exactly. There you go. There's a crisis in this chat. 2 different crises. One, obviously, that, yeah, if you're not subscribed, you're about to see a 3-minute ad break. Okay? The second crisis, however, is a crisis of low-hanging fruit. A lot of chatters have now decided that the easiest way to get me to read your comments at the top of the hour is by saying something silly. This has caused many chatters to refuse to do really cool ad break debates. Put the ad break message in the original message. Don't try to do a 2-parter. You will always get got, just like you will get got at the top of the hour if you are caught unsubscribed. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
In the Biden classified documents case, I don't know if you know this, but he's set to testify on Capitol Hill on March 12th. What is one question you're hoping the Republicans or someone who has some honesty up there will ask Mr. Hur? And should Biden have been charged in the classified documents case?
Well, nobody else has been over the years because, you know, Hillary took a lot and Bill took a lot. Bill took him out in his socks. They call it the socks case, which he won with a very tough judge, which he won. Bush took him, everybody, Reagan took him out, everybody took him out. It only became a big subject when I took things out. The difference is I had what's called the Presidential Records Act. I was allowed to do what I did, absolutely allowed. That's why they passed the act in 1978. They passed the Presidential Records Act. But you can only use it or be there if you're president. Biden wasn't president. He was vice president.
Why didn't you just hand him over when they were requested, though? I mean, they requested him. You could have just handed him over. It probably saved yourself a lot of trouble.
First of all, I didn't have to hand him over. But second of all, I would have done that. We were talking, and then all of a sudden they raided Mar-a-Lago. Do you remember? They said, could you put an extra lock on the door? We showed them where they were. We showed them. Unlike being under a Corvette in a little garage with the door open all the time, we had these things locked. We were surrounded all the time by many Secret Service agents. We had Secret Service all over Mar-a-Lago. You couldn't take anything out. But what happened, and when you take a look, Biden didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He's at great jeopardy, really. But they said, look, he's incompetent to go to court, but he can be president. Figure that one. In other words, he can't represent himself at court because he's incompetent.
What should Hur be asked? What should he be asked?
Well, I just think you have to ask, why did you do it? You didn't have the Presidential Records Act, and how did you do it as senator? You know, Dick Durbin, a senator, said there's no way he did that as senator. And then when he found out, you know, it's pretty serious.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
Let's watch this. Donald Trump, we're turning into a communist country.
People around the world are expressing outrage over the death of Alexei Navalny, of course, in a horrific Russian prison. You posted on Truth Social about it. You said that his death made you more aware of the political circumstances here at home.
It's happening here.
Specifically your rivals. I want to give you the chance to expand on that, because obviously your opponents have used that to say, again, pro-Putin, don't care about human rights or freedom, the freedom movement. And so what does...
For the record, when Trump says we're turning into a communist country, and because I saw a chatter be like, well, how is that a bad thing? Okay, obviously it's a falsehood regardless, but what if it was real? Why would this be a bad thing? It doesn't have to be. Like, he's not saying this because he's saying this specifically because he never has to make an argument that communism is a bad thing. That is the normative position of the average American. That's just what they believe. Communism is a sticker that you can slap onto anything to say it's bad. You will never be able to tackle that. That's why they say Nancy Pelosi and Jeff Bezos are communists, for example.
What does that mean when you said it made you more aware of your circumstances here?
Navalny is a very sad situation, and he's very brave. He was a very brave guy because he went back. He could have stayed away. And frankly, probably would have been a lot better off staying away and talking from outside of the country as opposed to having to go back in, because people thought that could happen, and it did happen. And it's a horrible thing. But it's happening in our country, too. We are turning into a communist country in many ways. And if you look at it,
just like Russia. Doesn't he like Putin? He likes Putin being a strong man. This is the age-old debate. Putin likes Trump because Trump is manageable. Okay? Putin likes Trump because Trump is easy to dupe and easy to manage. Just sing his praises a little bit, and he'll come and also obviously say you're going to build a Trump Tower or some shit, and you'll be able to get a lot of access from the head of state, a lot more than you would in comparison to other heads of state. Trump likes Putin because Putin is a strong man. He likes Putin in the same way that he likes Xi Jinping. If you listen to how Trump talks about Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un, he will always praise their authoritarian tendencies. He likes how much power they have. He likes how much control they have. Okay? But as far as like Trump being pro-Russia, for example, he said some interesting stuff about Russia, I'll admit. But overall, I don't think he is like pro-Putin or will outwardly be pro-Putin ever. And he loved Duterte, where he would just fucking murder people. Yeah, exactly. He even praised Duterte for his psychotic murder, his psychotic murderous operation. Xi earned his control and his incredibly high approval, something no U.S. president has achieved. U.S. presidents will never need to achieve that. It doesn't matter.
The leading candidate, I got indicted. I never heard of being indicted before. I got indicted 4 times. I have 8 or 9 trials, all because of the fact that and you know this, all because of the fact that I'm in politics. They indicted me on things that are so ridiculous. Fanny in Atlanta.
We'll get into that. We're going to get into that in a moment. But we're going to get into my favorite DA in a moment. But do you see yourself?
There's no logic in killing the opposition leader himself a month before the elections. Yeah, but still happened. There's no logic in invading Ukraine. Also, the election isn't real anyway, but the West killed him. Yeah, shut up, guys. You're fucking nuts. Yeah, the Russian election. Come on. Let's be for fucking real. There also wasn't a logical reason to invade Ukraine, and yet Putin did that anyway. So much so that you still have people being like, well, he did it to protect Donbass. Yeah, Donbass stands real protected right now. There's nothing more protective than putting minefields in every corner of the area that you're protecting, with like hundreds of thousands of people dying in the process.
As a potential political prisoner in the United States, because that's their goal, is to put you in jail behind your bars, right, for the rest of your life.
If I were losing in the polls, they wouldn't even be talking about me, and I wouldn't have had any legal fees.
If you had retired from politics, would all these cases...
If I were out, I think, although they hate me so much, I think if I got out, they'd still, let's pursue this guy. We can't stand this guy. Look, I won an election that wasn't supposed to be winnable.
The invasion did undermine SWIFT. If you want to think bigger picture, no, fuck that. No shot. No. There is no, like, what, you think like Putin was doing 7D chess, invading so that like they would get sanctions and be able to withstand the sanctions? No shot. Especially because the invasion made Russia into a paper tiger, one that is still violent enough that it gives ample justification for every other country, regalvanizes support for NATO. Okay. NATO support is at an all-time fucking high in Europe. SWIFT is the SWIFT payment system. 90% of global commerce happens with the dollar. America control, or not 90, 80%, sorry. America basically controls 80% of all international trade. Hasan, it is a civil war since 2014. You are such a purity fetishist. I am not a purity fetishist. If your argument is that Putin invaded to end the civil war, okay, it is no different than saying Putin invaded to denazify Ukraine. These are ridiculous. These are ridiculous reasons to invade a country because all you've done is create more death and destruction. So you fucking ruined the whole, like, I'm doing this to save people narrative. Okay. And you've also basically lost support in eastern parts of the country that may have supported you prior to the invasion by blowing their shit up and killing their family members. And I mean, they don't really have a say in the process regardless because they're just fucking plebs in general. But beyond that, the notion that like you've denazified the country is also silly because you've actually given way more credence to the nationalistic sentiment in the nation that is now invaded.
This interview showed that Trump is still angry with Mitch McConnell. In another unaired segment from the town hall taping, Trump pondered the prospects of a potential second presidency and expressed skepticism about his ability to collaborate with Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Trump said Mitch will end up endorsing him, but he doesn't know that he can still work with him. With just 4 days remaining before the pivotal GOP presidential nomination contest in South Carolina, Trump made scant mention of Nikki Haley, his primary challenger. He simply suggested that she seems uncertain about exiting the race. Regarding potential debates with Joe Biden, Trump asserted his willingness to participate in as many as necessary, although he doubted Biden's eagerness to engage in such exchanges. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And thanks for watching.